Senator, thanks for sitting down with us. What we're diving into today is a critical force multiplier for our state's resilience. We're talking about how to truly synergize our state defense forces through a smart, structured public-private partnership. Look, this isn't about reinventing the wheel. It's about making that wheel stronger, faster, and a heck of a lot more reliable when everything is on the line. Let's get into it.
You know, that's the question that keeps governors, that keeps legislators like me up at night. We always plan on federal support, but what really happens in those first 48, 72 hours? When the cameras are on but the help isn't there yet, who is actually on the ground? I can tell you exactly who. After the hurricane last year, the cell towers were gone, roads were completely flooded. FEMA was still staging, getting their assets in place. But it was the State Guard, working right alongside us, pulling people out of their homes. For those first couple of days, they weren't just the first responders, they were the only responders.
And that's precisely their mission. That's what they're designed for. These state defense forces are constitutionally authorized, state-controlled forces. They report directly to the governor. You should think of them as America's unseen first responders, purpose-built to fill that terrifying gap when federal resources are stretched thin or are still on the way. Their entire job is to ensure the government keeps running and our communities are safe. So here's our flight plan for this briefing. First, we'll dig a little deeper into their role as those unseen first responders. Then we've got to talk about the readiness gap they're facing right now. From there, we'll lay out the partnership solution, detail the benefits for everyone involved, and finally, map out a clear path forward to build a much more resilient nation.
Okay, so I understand the initial disaster response piece, but what does their role look like today? I mean, the threats we're all concerned about are a lot more complex than just hurricanes and floods now.
You're exactly right, and their mission portfolio has evolved to meet those exact threats. We have moved way beyond just traditional disaster response. We're talking about ensuring our government can still function in a crisis, providing critical support during a massive cyber attack, responding if the power grid goes down, and even augmenting our public health systems during a pandemic. They are a flexible, state-level strategic asset.
Well, if their mission is that critical and that diverse, I have to ask the obvious question: why aren't they better equipped? If we know these threats are real, what's holding them back? Frankly, it sounds like a major vulnerability we're just ignoring.
It is a vulnerability. And the answer really boils down to these key challenges. State budgets are always tight, which means these forces often get left with aging equipment, inconsistent training, and a real lack of the standardized, professional certifications they need to plug in seamlessly with other agencies.
I've seen it firsthand. We were on a search and rescue mission in a state forest, and the guard unit we were working with had radios that couldn't communicate with our systems. We were literally sending runners between command posts. In 2024, that's not a failure of the volunteers, that's an equipment failure, and it puts lives on the line.
And that right there is the readiness gap we have to close. But the solution isn't just about trying to find more money in the state budget. The solution is a strategic, structured public-private partnership. It's a proven model that bridges this gap by aligning the mission needs of the state with the incredible capabilities of the private sector. We've built a framework based on 3 pillars that all support each other. First, sponsorship, which provides strategic support. Second, direct equipment modernization. And third, and this is arguably the most important, professional training and certification. Let's break each of those down.
Sponsorship sounds great in theory, but who are we talking about here? Are you looking for major defense contractors? Who are these partners? It's a really wide spectrum, Senator. We're talking about everyone from major corporations to local businesses, tech startups, even philanthropic foundations. I mean, imagine a local TV station sponsoring a recruitment campaign or a software company helping them modernize their logistics tech. It's about tapping into the strengths that already exist right here in our community.
And on the equipment side, this is a total game changer. Forget sending runners between command posts. Think about a local company that provides modern medical kits. Instead of a soldier carrying a field dressing from 20 years ago, they now have a state-of-the-art kit with a tourniquet, chest seals, quick clot. That single donation, that one partnership, can literally be the difference between life and death for a civilian or for one of the volunteers themselves.
Of course, that modern equipment is only as good as the person using it. And that brings us to the third pillar, training. This is where the model goes from being helpful to being truly strategic. We're not just talking about internal drills. We are talking about partnerships that provide nationally recognized professional credentials, getting these volunteers certified as EMTs, giving them the red card for wildland firefighting, and training them in FEMA's incident command system.
And right here, this is the whole point. This is the strategic payoff.
When an SDF volunteer has the same incident command certification as a FEMA team leader or a National Guard officer, they speak a common operational language. It creates true interoperability. This is what transforms the SDF from a group of well-meaning volunteers into a reliable, certified, and integrated part of the state's total emergency response system.
Okay, the model is clear, and I'll admit, it sounds effective. But here's the brass tacks question from my perspective. What are the direct benefits here? For the state, for the taxpayers who expect us to be fiscally responsible, and of course, for the private partners you're asking to step up. What is in it for them?
That's the essential question, Senator. And the most important thing to understand is that this is not charity. It's a strategic civic investment with clear, tangible returns. The SDF gets the modern gear and professional training it needs, which boosts readiness and morale. In return, our partners can receive significant tax advantages, and they build incredible public trust and brand credibility. It's also a powerful, demonstrable way for them to meet their environmental, social, and governance, or ESG goals, which investors and customers really care about.
That makes sense from a business perspective, but what about oversight? We can't have just anyone influencing or equipping a state military force. How do you guarantee security and make sure this is all above board? Absolutely paramount, Senator. This whole framework is built on a foundation of security and total transparency. Every single potential partner would be thoroughly vetted by the state's military department. There would be full financial oversight, crystal clear reporting requirements, and alignment with every single state and federal regulation. This is not about privatizing defense, it's about empowering it within a secure, accountable system.
So that brings us to the end goal, building a more resilient nation. We have the model, we have the mutual benefit, we have the accountability framework. The only question left is, how do we make it happen?
Senator, this is where leaders like you become absolutely critical. You can be the one to champion the enabling legislation that encourages these kinds of partnerships. You can promote the tax incentives that make it an easy yes for businesses to participate. And you can support pilot programs to prove the concept right here in our state. This is a truly bipartisan, constitutionally sound approach to making our homeland more secure from the ground up.
And at the end of the day, when you strip away all the strategy and the policy, it really just comes down to this. This is about service. It's about citizens and companies stepping up to support the volunteers who put their lives on hold when the worst happens. It just reinforces that fundamental American idea that our security, our safety, is truly a shared responsibility.
Which really leaves us with this final thought to consider. We know the threats are getting more complex, and the demands on our states are only going to increase. So the question is this model, this embrace of shared responsibility between the public and private sectors, the future of how we ensure America's resilience? Thank you for your time.